There's Mark.
So we'll be quiet on this side.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mark.
We're live. We're live. Thank you.
All right, in that case, welcome to the September 20th, 2022 meeting of the University Advancement and External Affairs Committee of the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees. This meeting is being held in person with committee members participating remotely. At this time, I will call it conduct a roll call attendance to determine if a quorum is present, and I'd ask that you respond present via WebEx or present in person when your name is called. I'm Christine Heenan. I'm present via WebEx. Armand Sabatoni.
Present via WebEx.
Courtney Nicolato.
Present via WebEx.
Vahid Onjazeori. Margot Cook. Mike McNally.
Present via WebEx.
Barbara Cottam. David Caprio. And Mark Parlange.
Present via WebEx.
We have a quorum of 5 members. I can therefore call the meeting to order. A reminder to all members that for the benefit of our audience and the note taker, please clearly identify yourself whenever you comment, make a motion or a second to a motion. Participants using yourself whenever you comment, make a motion or a second to a motion. Participants using WebEx are asked to keep their cameras on. As the remote members and others present at the meeting must be clearly audible and visible to one another. I also would like to acknowledge that the University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional homeland of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people. In an effort to increase the efficiency of our meetings, acceptance of the agenda has been removed as a standing item on the agenda. Instead, we will only have a vote if a committee member would like to propose an amendment to the published agenda. An amendment can include changing the order of items listed, removing an item from the agenda, or adding a new item to the agenda. Consistent with the Open Meetings Act, we may only add additional items to the agenda for informational purposes. Those additional items may not be voted on except where necessary to address an unexpected occurrence that requires immediate action to protect the public or to refer the matter to an appropriate committee or another official body. Any proposed changes to the agenda will require a motion and a majority vote. Are there any proposed changes to the published agenda?
I'd like you to ask Christine that everybody who's not speaking be on mute because we're getting some pretty bad feedback.
That's it. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, hearing no proposed changes to the published agenda, I'm going to move to agenda item 1, which is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. May I have a motion that the University Advancement and External Affairs Committee approve the minutes from the last meeting?
This is Courtney, so moved.
Mike McNally, second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? There being no discussion, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, say yes. Yes. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we have unanimously passed our first agenda item, the approval of the minutes. Second item of the agenda are discussion items. There is no action necessary on these items, but there's an opportunity for us to have a conversation both as a committee and also with our esteemed guests from the University of Rhode Island Foundation and any members of the public who've joined us remotely. I want to start by introducing Matt McDonald, the Vice President of Communications and Marketing. I won't go on at length as we spoke about Matt at our last full board meeting, except to say he has had leadership posts at both the University of Miami and at Northeastern University that were viewed as industry leading and were really viewed as the high watermark among other universities and how to move the dial on a university's brand and its storytelling. Having been on the search that brought Matt here, I can tell you we had a rigorous national search and talked to dozens upon dozens of candidates from around the country, and we're very, very lucky to get our top choice in Matt. Matt, I'd like you to just say a few words to the committee about your role and your first month or so at URI.
And good afternoon, everybody. It is wonderful to see all of you, and I look forward to meeting those of you who have not had the chance to meet in person yet, meeting you soon. It has been a wonderful and whirlwind first month and change. I will tell you that I could not have asked for a warmer welcome to the University of Rhode Island or to Rhode Island in general. It really has been wonderful. The community has been incredibly welcoming and wonderful, and I think we've hit the ground running on many on many fronts, certainly the bond campaign that is underway, strategic planning, and the list goes on. So many high priority projects that we are working very quickly on and aggressively on. And I thank many of you for not just the welcome, but for your counsel as we move forward on these important initiatives. And just very excited to be here, very energized by the university community, by the vision for the university and where I think we're headed, and by the incredible potential and opportunity here. I talked with the team a lot about storytelling and the value of storytelling in how we advance the university and how we build the brand broadly of the institution. And as I look out across the landscape, we have no shortage of great stories to tell. And so that, for me, in my role, is incredibly exciting. And I'm just really feel very fortunate to be here, and I'm excited to work with all of you. So thank you very much.
Matt, thank you. I think I speak for the committee and for the full board in saying I think we feel very fortunate to have you here. Branding and communications and storytelling is an important priority for this board, an important priority for the school, and you will be an invaluable partner in executing that work for the university. The second item on our discussion agenda is an update from Lil O'Rourke and Jeff Cabral on our campaign, Big Ideas, Bold Plans. Also a area of strong interest and support from the board, as well as from the URI Foundation. So let me turn it over to Lil and Jeff to bring us up to speed.
Thank you, Christine. And I want to echo the welcome to Matt. It is really wonderful to have him here. He's a great colleague and well-known in our profession as a real leader in this field. And we're already working on some projects with him. So we're thrilled that you're here, Matt. I'm going to give you an overview on some aspects of the campaign, and then Jeff will jump in, add to that, and then talk about some things around presidential engagement and our plans for Day of Giving. We've got a lot going on. So right now, we're going to show you the campaign commitments by purpose screen, and that's going to pop up in a minute. Right now, we are in great shape with the campaign. We're at 238.4 million, and towards our goal of 300 million. As you recall, we increased that goal from 250 million. And we've raised over 95 million in gifts towards the endowment. And so this campaign is a comprehensive campaign. Everything counts. And the point being that we're focused on building the endowment, but we're also focused on current fundraising that has an immediate and direct impact on our students and faculty. And then really important in terms of immediate impact is our Rhody Now area that we've raised $17.8 million. That's the cash that's coming in. And you'll hear more about that in Day of Giving shortly. But to be able to infuse $17.8 million to the university for immediate spending cash is really a great trajectory and a great tribute to those that have given. And then we think about campaign commitments by donor type. That's the next slide. We've secured over 168 million of our funds raised from alumni. That's an amazing statement of the loyalty and support of URI alumni. And as I've said before, public higher ed was late to fundraising, and URI was later than others. And so for us to really counter the past of being not really philanthropically focused at URI, and to be able to say that 168 million of our 238 came from alumni is amazing. And then the next slide is the campaign progress. That's our campaign trend line. And I will admit, I don't like being so close to the trend line. I really don't like it. So that's something that's on the screen in my office every day, and we're watching that. We've got some great things in the pipeline that Jeff will talk about, but that's what we're watching closely. And we want to, our goal is to get to 250 million by the end of the calendar year, and we're focused on that. So that's my overview of campaign commitments by purpose, by donor type, and progress. And now Jeff's going to talk more specifically about our campaign gift table, and then what we're doing to build a pipeline. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lil. So we can go to the next slide here, and I'll just show you some of our efforts this fiscal year. So at the bottom of your screen under open proposals, all the way to the right and at the bottom, you'll see that we have about 223, if I'm reading that correctly, 223 open proposals. These are active gift conversations with entities, corporate and foundation relation entities, as well as individuals. And out of those conversations, we anticipate about $32 million in gifts this fiscal year. That is a conservative estimate, although we're always surprised. And so that's kind of the number we're going with. Many of these gifts that we're working on, one of our amazing deans or President Parlange are deeply involved in helping us cultivate and solicit these gifts. We can go over to the next slide, and I'll just share some of the things that we did in fiscal year 22. Our team prepared Mark for 73 development events where he engaged with alumni, parents, and friends and was able to further relationships with folks from all over the country. We also prepared 61 individual visit briefings for President Parlange. So he's been very busy, and we thank him for joining us in our work. This year, we are headed to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, New York, Boston, of course, Florida. We are going to have him busy engaging with our community members all over the place. We're also headed to Indonesia in January, which will be really quite wonderful. We can go over to the next slide, and I'll just share quickly on Day of Giving. On October 6th, we have a goal of raising 1.5 million. Many of these gifts come from challenges, so we're happy to announce that we have over $350,000 in challenge matches right now, with an additional $95,000 in early gifts. People who've raised their hand and said, count this gift that I'm making today towards your $1.5 million goal. So that brings us almost to 500,000. We're very excited. We should reach our goal of 1.5 million this year. So what we're looking for is 100% participation from the Board of Trustees, our advisory councils, and those that are closest to us. You can make gifts by visiting our website. There's a specific website for Day of Giving, which is hosted off of the foundation webpage. New this year is that we're accepting Apple Pay and Google Pay, which is something that our young alumni are very happy about. So we look forward to seeing the results of those efforts. Thank you to everyone on this call who's really made gifts in support of the university. We hope you join us and make a gift during Day of Giving as well. And that's all I have for now, unless Lil wants to add anything to that.
No, I just want to give an opportunity for questions if anybody has them.
Hey, Lil and Jeff, cryptocurrency, is that in your thought process? Yes or no?
Absolutely. We've already done research on it, our CFO, Adam Quinlan. So if we have a donor who's interested in giving crypto, we're ready. Done a lot of due diligence. It's still sort of up in the air among our peers. University of Pennsylvania's gotten some gifts in crypto. So we're watching it, but as of now, we haven't had anybody raise that ready if it comes through.
Great. And what can we do as board members to ensure success on Day of Giving?
Well, thank you. You're very helpful. We do have some great matches and challenge grants. And so I think if you can, in your amazing network, all of you, encourage friends and family to give on Day of Giving, that would be very, very meaningful because it's about participation. It's also about amount, but a big part of it's participation. And then we focus on retaining donors who are new donors on Day of Giving. And that's something we focus on too. So I appreciate you asking that question. And we can, if you've got a certain group of friends, classmates you want to push something out to, we can help give you a pre-done sort of email and, with a link and things to make it easy. Thanks. Muted.
Sorry about that. Couldn't seem to unmute. I was saying if there are no other questions for Lil and Jeff, we're going to move on to our next discussion item, which is a government and legislative affairs update from Carlos and Lauren. Everyone will remember at our last board meeting, we discussed the extraordinary efforts that went into the end of the legislative session. Armin was very helpful there, certainly President Parlange, Courtney, Mike, others, in beginning to really increase awareness, visibility, relationship building to really make the case for URI at the state level. Certainly, Mark has talked about increased federal support as key to his goals around research competitiveness and center and program research. So I'm going to turn it over now to Carlos and Lauren to give us an update both on the what we see ahead in terms of the state legislative agenda and election primary outcomes, and then over to Lauren for a look at the federal government. So over to you first, Carlos.
Hi, Christina. Thank you so much for that. And I'd like to say thank you to the board members who came with us to the State House and to testify, along with myself, President Parlange, Matty Lopes and his team. It was truly a team effort that really yielded great benefit for the university. We received unprecedented amounts of money to help shape the future of the university, namely the $100 million bond, which we're working on as we speak, to get it out in front of the voters. And Laura and I will address that a little bit later. We were successful in getting over $140 million worth of RICAP money, which RICAP money is it's free money for the university to initiate projects, to fix buildings and really do a lot of the maintenance and repair that a campus of this size really needs to make. We were also successful in getting authorization to build a new dorm, which is a supreme priority for the university, as we have several hundred students this year who had difficulty obtaining housing. And if students don't have housing, then they can't come to the university and they can't participate in the learning environment that we have here. So that's of paramount concern, and we'd like to thank the speaker and his team for helping shepherd that through for us, because it was a critical ask from us to address that critical need. We also were successful in getting from the governor and his team the 91.5 million for our operating budget. And even though we needed a little bit more, it was something that we were successful in securing, and they know that we're going to come back this session and bolster that number and try to bring the university back to where it needs to be in terms of state funding. So overall, I have to say that we had a successful financial season. And then legislatively, we also had some early successes with the remote meeting legislation, which is what's enabling us to do this, what we're doing today. We also had the board composition legislation, which it's still in play, but the legislation is in place. So that way we can have a smooth transition to, a new board composition and how those board members are going to be participating in the board of trustees. We also increased the purchasing power of the board of trustees, so that way it's not so nickel and dime, and you don't have to get together for like small purchases. So those were some of the legislative successes that we had that were positive for us. But we also had legislative asks that we were able to hold off. For example, the Hope Scholarship. That's a really important piece of legislation that really needs to include the university, because if the university is not included in the Hope Scholarship, then that's going to mean loss of students. It's going to be detrimental to the financial well-being of the university. So there's ongoing talks and negotiations on how we can get the university to be a part of that. So sometimes you win by not having things go through or being held for further study. So those are some of the legislative wins that we had. And as we speak, our team of myself, Lauren, Matt, Matty Lopes, and Panon Lopes, Deborah O'Gara, we're already formulating the 2023 legislative strategy because, you know, there's no rest for the wicked. So we just keep going. And then the last thing I'd like to touch upon, which is something that's very important, is a piece of legislation did go through that we were very concerned about, and that's having to do with the PFAS situation. And what PFAS is this contaminant that's found in water that's regulated by the federal government and by the state. And in this last legislative session, a piece of legislation went through that's going to require the university and many cities and towns and other water supply providers to meet certain levels of this PFAS contaminant. And it's quite costly. And we've put together with our legal counsel, Alyssa Boss, and others, an internal working group that's going to address those issues and try to make this as pain-free for the university as possible. So we're firing on all cylinders. I think that our team has been very effective. And in fact, if you'll indulge me, I have this gigantic binder here, which has all of our legislative wins and the work that we've done. And it's something that really is our Bible for the work that we do. And this is provided to us by Pannone, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara. So that way, anyone that's interested in seeing the work that they do with us can take a look at it and really get into the weeds if they need to. So I think that the Board of Trustees can be very confident in knowing that we are doing everything we can to bring success to the university and to establish the vision that's set forth by the Board of Trustees, President Parlange, and the administration here at the university. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Carlos. Who's going to speak to the bond campaign? You or Lauren?
Well, we're gonna go back and forth a little bit. So I think the next
Okay.
bullet here, Christine, thank you very much, is that since we last spoke to you all, of course, we've been hard at work organizing and getting the bond campaign off the ground. I want to say thankful that Matt is on board and hit the ground running from day one. And also thank you to Lil and the foundation for support there so that we can put together and support from others across campus, that we can put together a really comprehensive and strategic statewide campaign. And so we just want to update you on a few things. We hope that you all saw in the past couple of weeks that we've had some really great press on the bond. And of course, we had a Boston Globe article that we were able to instigate and plan for that included Senator Whitehouse and doing a tour. President Parlange did an amazing job, I think, of really providing, which is a lot to take in a comprehensive way, made such an impact on the reporter Brian Amaral that we hope to have continued stories, and he's in touch with Matt about additional things that he can help and be supportive of in terms of messaging. Just this past few weeks, the president spoke at the Greater Providence Chamber Gubernatorial Forum, as URI was the host for that. Really great exposure, 400 industry participants, and the pitch really was about the bond and how we need their support. And then followed up last week at the Board of Directors meeting, and GPCC voted to endorse the bond campaign, so that's great there. We're looking forward next week, an official bond launch, which will be on the Narragansett Bay campus. Matt, our team, and others working really hard. We brought on additional consulting support to that end, working with New Harbor and Pannone, Devereaux, O'Gara to make sure that we are as successful as possible and to supplement what capabilities we have internally. And then I just wanted to flag, looking ahead, these are just some of the ideas we have, but how can we utilize some of the athletics events we have coming up? Certainly the Governor's Cup for our team in government relations makes a lot of sense to not only let's get people educated because they're running their own statewide campaign. We can piggyback off that message as they're going to their constituents about how important the investment is in URI. And we hope to use that as the foundation for the session next year because, of course, let's get people feeling good about the institution. Let's bring them into athletics again, post-COVID world, and let's get people feeling really connected to what's happening in the institution. So it really helps support the advocacy we're doing for increased support and state investment. So that's a little snapshot of the bond. Matt, I don't know if you were going to talk about it later. Anything to add that I may have missed that you wanted to comment to the board?
No, I think you've covered it, and we're happy to answer any questions. I think as Carlos and Lauren both mentioned, we're moving swiftly and aggressively at this point. I think we'll have collateral materials available for a lot of folks and distributed widely and broadly. You'll start seeing and hearing much more about it, as we head into the next month and as we get close to November. So I think a lot of work, a lot of strategy, and we're moving aggressively at this point.
So moving on for the bond, I think Carlos just wanted to provide an update about some of the other strategies we have ongoing for Blue Economy initiatives.
Thank
That'd be
you.
great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As far as some of the federal programs that we've been working on, obviously you've all received the news that we were not successful in the EDA Build Back Better Regional Challenge Award. However, with every piece of bad news that we get, there's always a silver lining, okay? President Parlange has had direct conversations with Secretary Raimondo and has expressed his concerns and has expressed the need for these resources to come to the university. We've got the URI Research Foundation that's made outreach to the Department of Commerce and other federal agencies. And with Lauren and her federal network, we're all looking at alternative sources for funding some of the projects that were part of the overall EDA application packet. So for example, there's buckets of money that the EDA still has that's going through the Commerce Department. So we're looking to see where we can plug and play some of the projects that we have in that EDA application to see if we can get it through that venue. We have federal infrastructure money that's come down. We're going to see if some of those projects that we have can fit into that. We've got federal money that came down for IT. So we're working with Carlos and his team to see where we can fit that money in. So what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is, even though we didn't get the big splash with the EDA grant, we're still shaking all the trees at the federal level to track down where the money is, who's holding it, who at the state level, what department has it there, and we're going after it. And we're making sure that we try to find funding for the projects that were part of that EDA grant. Now, it's going to probably be a piecemeal effort. You might see, for example, the BTEC project. That's something that's hot and heavy on their radar. So we're on top of that. And then there's other projects that are not affiliated with the university that are also in competition with us. But between Lauren, myself, and the team, we're making sure that our congressional delegation knows of our needs. We've had Senator Whitehouse, as Lauren mentioned, come down and visit in regards to the EDA. And then we had Senator Reed come down with Congressman Langevin to have a press conference about $1 million that they got for the Research Foundation. But we took the opportunity to have Senator Reed take a look at some of the projects that didn't get funded, either through the $100 million bond or through not getting the EDA, and letting him know that these projects are still a priority and can they help us through other agencies. So we are really pushing and being very aggressive with our congressional delegation to show them that not only is there a great need at URI, but their investment will pay dividends. So I think we're on top of things there.
And I believe that President Parlange has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. President Parlange, did you want to make a comment?
Thanks, Christine, for giving a chance. I just wanted thanks Carlos and Lauren for all comments and context there. Just a couple of things. First of all, I think the Hope Scholarship, and we've been very clear and we've testified at the State House very clearly that it's important for the citizens of Rhode Island and that the University of Rhode Island be included. I think we've emphasized that we support our students for success here. We've had great success on retention and going forward. We offer degrees, everything from pharmacy to nursing to engineering and so forth, that are uniquely available in many ways at the University of Rhode Island. So that's important, and we certainly hope in the future that if such a scholarship goes forward, that the University of Rhode Island is part of it. The second is about the PFAS. I just want to remind that we're actually the leaders in the country, and we're internationally set up. Rainer Lohmann, professor in the Graduate School of Oceanography, is leading. He's the PI on a large NIEHS grant, which was just renewed. So we're doing a lot of the global work that has to do with the impact of PFAS on the immune system. So the dangers of PFAS, we've actually brought it forward and brought it to the community. Rhode Island, as it turns out, is fortunate that most of the drinking water supply in the state is protected. The one drinking water supply, there are probably two, but one of them that will have to be looked at very closely is in fact the University of Rhode Island. And so we would have to potentially put a fairly expensive filter system on our drinking water supply. And so I think that was to the point that Carlos was talking about. And then, of course, with the bond, as both explained, it's extremely important to us. It's really the front piece. We're trying to drive the state of Rhode Island as Rhode Island's university, so the bond campaign becomes very important for us. So thanks, Christine. That's all I wanted to add on those points.
I appreciate that additional context, President Parlange. Are there any other questions or comments? Mike?
Yes, I just think the message in my mind is a little different than, I mean, Carlos, thanks to Carlos and Lauren, I'm sure things will get better, but in every metric, everything I've ever seen, Rhode Island is last in terms of the support for their state university, state research university. And through their help, it will get better. But I wouldn't say this year was so successful. I mean, we had 1.3 billion in ARPA funds and got none of it. The housing that you talked about, Carlos, the state's paying none of that. They just approved us to borrow against our funds. I mean, it's sad. And so I encourage everyone to try to get more help from the state because we desperately need it. And I'm sure with Carlos and Lauren, that'll happen.
I appreciate your comments, Mike, and they certainly reflect the comments of some of the board members at our last meeting. Anything else for Carlos or Lauren before we move to our last discussion item? Carlos and Lauren, thank you very much for that report and for all you do. Our last agenda item has to do with the disposition of this committee that we have served on, many of us, for 2 years. I think as the board continues to advance in its work and understand where the focus of attention is most needed for URI, there's an interest in focusing heavily on research excellence at a board committee level and elevating discussions of the capital campaign and the university's broader brand and storytelling to the entire board. And to have those updates brought to the full body rather than through committee reporting. And in addition, to ask, just as we have had the presence of Al Recchia and Diane Fannin helping inform this committee, to have a member of this board serve as officio on the foundation board to bring board perspective to that board. I think these are welcome developments, and if anything, will only increase the focus that we need to bring as a full board to our fundraising, our efforts at the State House, and our efforts around storytelling and brand building. But I want to open that up for discussion. If anyone has any questions about that development, this is likely the last meeting of this committee as initially constituted. I know we've all had opportunities to talk about this and think about this, that maybe there's not a lot of discussion. With that, I think we can now ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. We have a motion to adjourn?
Christine, it's Mike McNally, so moved.
Do we have a second?
This is Almond, second.
Thank you, Armin. Can I ask for a voice vote? All in favor of the motion to adjourn? Yes, yes.
Yes.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it's unanimous. We will adjourn. And I just want to take a moment as the chair of this committee to thank everyone for its work. I don't know, Lil, if you have any additional comments on this topic, but I think we really benefited as a young board from a really strong focus on everything from brand to rankings to storytelling. I think our efforts as a board help us narrow what we wanted to recruit for, both in a chief communications officer, but also our government relations colleagues, all of whom are new. We've had this board and this committee, so I appreciate that talent we've been able to recruit on this group. So I want to offer my personal thanks as chair. And then Lil, did you have any other comments or Mark?
Certainly, I want to thank you, Christine, for being the inaugural chair of this committee and leading us for the past few years. And I really see this as a great move that really will strengthen the connection between the Foundation Alumni Engagement and the University Board of Trustees leadership, with Diane Fannin, who has been chair, working with Austin Farrell, our head of communications and marketing. We've had a communications and marketing committee at the foundation for several years. We were able to start looking at the rankings issues several years ago and then partner with universities. So we see this as a great next step to further strengthen, connect, and really raise awareness of all of our work together to advance URI. So I think we've had some good meetings to talk about the next steps and the composition of the committee, and those details can be rolled out in the coming weeks and months. But I think we're in a good position. So thank you.
Thank you for those added comments. All right, I think we are adjourned. Thank you all, and see you soon. Mark, we look forward to your inauguration.
Thanks, Christine. Great job.
See you there.
Bye.